Hi guys. I realize I'm cheating. So if you've seen in some of my videos, I use my laptop to make sure no one interrupts my video because I don't have a fancy Nikon or something. So just gonna set that there. Hi guys. So today I will be talking to you a little bit about Lincoln Memorial University and my experiences as a clinical year student here. To give a little bit of background about myself, like I said, my name is Brittany Kilgore. I'm a fourth year student at St. George's University, and I am completing my clinical year at Lincoln Memorial. So you might be watching this video because you're interested in Lincoln Memorial, or you might be watching this as a SGU or Ross kid, and you're interested in coming here for clinical rotations. Obviously can't talk much about LMU as the university itself because I didn't go here for my didactics or preclinical experience, but I'm gonna talk about what I do know. But I am all for just being real and upfront and not giving like false information and making things up. Currently, I'm actually on the mandatory large animal rotation that's actually here right outside of Harrogate, Tennessee. Buddy, excuse me, I can't sit on my laptop. Come here. I'm sorry. Like I said, I'm staying currently in actually Virginia. So if you look at where Lincoln Memorial is on a map, it sits right at the northern border of Tennessee in what's called Harrogate, Tennessee. But it's very close to Ewing, Virginia, which is where their large animal and small animal teaching facilities are, their teaching farm, and then it also sits right in the corner of Middlesbury, Kentucky. You can get into each state within like 2 minutes. So I'm staying here. I have two cats here that might be in and out of this video, and one really wants to sit on my laptop. But we're gonna get into this. Like I don't want to keep going around, but I just wanted to kind of give you some background. Okay, laptop's moving up because they want to sit on it. So as always, I try to keep organized because if any of you know me, you know I like to talk. So like I said, I was going to talk about Lincoln Memorial as a whole. It is one of the newer vet schools. So they have a fully accredited now program, but they don't have a teaching hospital. So what makes Lincoln Memorial unique is that during your clinical year, you go out in rotations, which is one of the reasons I chose it. I've talked about that in other videos. Another interesting thing is it is a private university, meaning they don't have in-state and out-of-state tuition, and they don't have in-state seats, although they are a Tennessee school. So there's a mix of people from around here. I've learned a lot in my 2 days of being on rotation here. There's 4 classes. Very soon, they plan to start offering a January start, which I'm familiar with at SGU because SGU and Ross have multiple start dates. And apparently Lincoln Memorial is going to be the first one in the US that will have this spring start date. I don't know much details on it. But yeah, so that's what I'm going to get into school-wise because I don't know much else. And like I said, I don't want to give you false information. But what I can talk to you is about their clinical year. So I'm just going to go over some common like questions and answers that I get asked all the time. And it's, how do rotations work? The biggest question everyone wants to know is, Brittany, why are you moving around so much? Is every vet school like this? Why are you doing it? And every vet school rotation is not like this. Most clinical year students, when you go to a school, when you go to the University of Georgia, Auburn, Washington University, Texas A&M, Cornell, you are at that school for the full 4 years. And those schools have teaching hospitals. So you'll be there during your 4th year doing clinical rotations there. You'll have weeks for externships. You might have a community rotation that's in the community around that clinic. But for the most part, you're going to be at that school for the full 4 years. With Lincoln Memorial, though, since they don't have a teaching hospital, you have to go somewhere to get these skills. So we're going to actually, I don't want to say private because private practice is its own thing, but we're going to actually establish businesses. Some are corporate, some are private practice, some are wildlife rehabilitation centers, but there's so many. And since Lincoln Memorial was the first to adopt this, they have hundreds of affiliates. And like I've mentioned in other videos, Long Island University, Texas Tech, University of Arizona, and Midwestern University also have a similar clinical rotation agenda, but since they're newer, they don't have the vast amount of rotations that students can go to all across the country. I did not have to travel as much as I did, but I chose Lincoln Memorial because I wanted to travel. I don't know where I want to end up, and I just wanted the chance to just see the country while I'm in school, and I don't have responsibilities as working yet. So how clinical rotations work is that there is a preset thing. We get a certain amount of electives that we can do. We have certain required blocks, such as small animal general practice, small animal specialty, small animal emergency, large animal. So there are things, but within those different sections, I get to choose what rotation I want to satisfy it as. And then you get your electives if you really want to hyper focus. Like, lucky for me, one of the general practice things that I could choose from was an all cat practice. So I didn't even have to use one of my electives to do all cats, even though that's what I want to do. And trust me, I'm still getting loads of dog experience as well. And like my small animal specialty, my small animal emergency, and even some of my electives. Like I did 2 integrative practices and I did a full exotics practice, things like that. So it's been really unique. I get asked a lot, is it stressful moving all the time? It's funny because when you first make your schedule, you meet with the Lincoln Memorial staff, they're like, moving's gonna get old. Like, don't move too much. Like, it's gonna get old. And I was like, no. It gets old. It gets really old. I wouldn't call it stressful, although I feel like I got stressed because I was noticing my cat is getting stressed. Toulouse used to travel very well, even on a plane to the Caribbean. But after moving in the car every 4 weeks, he's like, no. So even for this rotation, since it's only 2 weeks, he's at home in Atlanta. I didn't stick him in the car for 2 weeks. Another common question I get asked is, does Lincoln Memorial help you pay for all your travel? And absolutely not. So that's another thing. You have to live within your means and, account for gas, account for cost of living all across the country, because your loans are based on your school's estimated cost of living. So if you blow through them because you want to spend the whole time in California, like, that's on you. I chose to go East Coast to West Coast because I've always wanted to live on the West Coast, but there are some people that only want to stay in the Southeast. They have family back home in New York, and so they kind of stay in New York. And so that's another thing I commonly explain to people, is that Lincoln Memorial has hub cities. Man, if I stay in this YouTube business, a new camera is on the agenda to purchase, because I can't with my phone running out of space. So like I said, I stayed in Tampa for 12 weeks because it was a hub city. And so if I wanted to, I could have spent much longer, but I wanted to travel. So while they don't pay for housing, there are options for people who don't want to move. A lot of people tell me they don't want to do Lincoln Memorial because, like for clinics at least, me coming from SGU, because the thought of moving around so much sounds stressful. And I tell people, like, I've thought this was a wonderful experience at Lincoln Memorial, and don't let the traveling scare you, because you don't have to move around that much. I know people who've only traveled a little bit, maybe 1 or 2 rotations here and there. And the good thing about it is the blocks are really long. Like, I feel like 4 weeks really, really gets you knowing the clinic, knowing the staff, and just getting into the flow of things. And so with that, the last thing I'll say before I go on to the next statement is that I feel like I've really enjoyed Lincoln Memorial because I feel like I got a more realistic idea of what life is going to be like post-graduation. It's not a fancy high-tech teaching hospital where I'll never have access to those capabilities ever again. And I've made so many relationships and connections across the country. So I'll leave it as that. Pros and cons of moving. Pros, like, you can move as little or as much as you want. You can experience different places, different people, different types of clinics. There's been things that I thought I liked and I realized I didn't. There's been things I would have never thought of to introduce to a clinic that I've learned. And so yeah, cons of moving, it gets old. If you're doing big jumps, they get really long and you only have a weekend turnaround. We get off Friday at 12 p.m. and you're expected to be there Monday morning. So like when I drove from LA to Houston, that was 2 days of 12-hour driving. Saturday and Sunday, time difference, had to wake up the next morning ready to go. It's kind of lonely at times. I feel like, 4 weeks is a long time, but it's not a long time. It was just enough to start getting to know people, but not enough where they were asking you to hang out, or, you had someone to interact with. So sometimes it was lonely, and just being away from family. And then if you're in a rotation or in an area that you don't like, you're kind of stuck. And then, cost of living can be variable. So the price of moving, the gas, and the different fluctuations, as opposed to if you're in probably a small college town, cheaper cost of living, probably not using as much gas. Those are the cons. And that's it. Yeah. Because I feel like I already have 3 videos out about Lincoln Memorial, and I love talking, but I know I can get long-winded, so I want to keep it as that. Be sure to check out my other videos, and I'm gonna be posting some things on Instagram, so if you're not following my Instagram, like, always look on there, because I always keep up on there. And the last thing is, someone asked me what are my plans for post-graduation, and I have taken a job, but I have not announced it yet anywhere. But I'll just give you guys a hint. It is not a cat clinic like I initially thought I would have taken. So when I get back home to Atlanta in 2 weeks, I will keep you guys posted. So follow me on Instagram, because I'm going to post it there. But cat clinics and being a cat specialist is the long-term goal. I have this buddy right here on the sofa, and there's also a second one right here. Like, I still love my kitties. Like, I still do. But I did take a job elsewhere for my initial job. So yeah, so until then, keep up on Instagram. Like I said, I have 2.5 more months till I graduate, and I really hope to start with my YouTubing again, and I want to be more consistent, especially once I'm out in practice. So be sure to get on Instagram, start leaving me comments, things you want to see once I'm out in practice. And so yeah, because I plan to be posting a lot more. So until next time, stay safe, stay happy.